Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. And I advise everyone present that their video is being recorded and the meeting is live streamed. I ask if there's a disclosure of interest. Pardon? We're here, I am. Oh, okay.
Well, I'm flashing, but nobody in the audience can see it.
I can see it.
Yeah, Lucy can see it,
That's
right?
right. That's why. And it says live here, so. Okay.
Okay.
All righty, I ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, we have a resolution moving and seconding the adoption of the agenda with the following addition. Reports of municipal officers, report 2025.137, removal agreement from 3252 Rosin Road property title. Is there any discussion on the agenda? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have a resolution approving the minutes of the council meeting held on June the 10th, 2025. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any errors or omissions? As there were none, all in favor of the minutes? Opposed? Carried. Any discussion on any item of those minutes? No? Okay. First item we have on reports from municipal. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Kapoff.
I missed it. I have to declare conflict on item 6C on the agenda.
6C.
Go back a couple steps.
Okay, no problem. We will indicate that Councillor Campo has a conflict of interest with 6C.
60?
Yes.
And reason?
Because I'm on the board of NOHFC.
Okay, thank you. The first item we have for reports of municipal officers is a Roslyn Fire Station Working Group. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. It is now open for discussion. And also a person that would be added to the working group from council. Any discussion? All in favor of the resolution? I will not call a vote yet until we put a name on there. Who on council would like to be on the be on the working group? I'm not sure if that would work because of your.
Sorry, it was just a question.
Okay, yes.
Good morning and thank you. The last line, it says other members of the, would be the fire chief and 2 volunteer firefighters selected by the fire chief. I'm just wondering, is that open to all firefighters? Was an email sent out or will there be one following, or is it hand selected, so to speak?
There was an email sent out some time ago looking for members of the department that were interested. I got a couple responses. And I will send another one out if this goes through to reaffirm those people. I'm looking for 1 officer and 1 firefighter.
Okay.
And further to that, would we be using the previous FPR or RFP that was sent out for, or use it as a template for the construction of the new fire hall?
Well, that'll be part of the information that the working group will have and look at. So I wouldn't say that's what it's going to be based on, but it's going to be looked at as part of the working group to put a package together, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions about the resolution or report? Is there anyone who would like to be interested to be a member on that working group? Would you be interested, Councillor Campoff?
I have some interest in it. It's certainly wouldn't want to take it away if someone else is interested in it, but.
Well, if no one had said, I would, but again, if you're interested, Councillor Viss.
Mayor Lucy, I don't think I should be on that committee as I represent council now on the fire committee.
Right.
And if that would add me, that is the fire chief, the deputy chief and a fireman and me. And I don't think that's right that I serve on that board. So I'm glad that somebody accepted this position.
You just said if no one else wanted. So again, yeah, that's why I said if no hands went up, I would have, but if you're interested in Councillor Campoff, we can certainly put your name on there. Okay, Councillor Campoff will represent will be our member of council on this working group. Again, is there any other discussion on this? No, as there is, all in favor? Opposed, carried. The next item we have is a report on the fire department organizational review. The resolution has been moved and seconded. It is open for discussion. Councillor Viss?
Yes, if I may, I think we should accept this in principle only and deal with the issues and the recommendation as they come forward to it, because if you can just a wide open thing, it's very difficult to just say accept the whole thing. So as they go through it and bring forth recommendation, it makes it a lot simpler, and we're all on that same page as we move along the road. So that would be my suggestion, that we accept it in principle.
Yeah, well, it does indicate that the recommendations will come back to us for review. So, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just in reviewing the report from EMG, I note that recommendation number 44, it says EMG recommends that the Oliver Paipoonge Training Center be provided with a distinct and unique budget separate from the OPFES budget, and the center can still be managed by the fire chief, but as a separate venture than the OPFES. The treasurer is in the process of doing the new accounts, to the best of my knowledge. Am I correct, John?
Yes.
Yeah. Looking to ask that the training center be a separate budget, not included in the fire department, because the rationale on the report says operating budget for the RTC and the OPFES should be distinct and unique. In the current model, it is difficult to evaluate the sustainability and fiscal performance of the center due to the cost codes being intermingled. In the long run, this practice will negatively impact by OPFES and RTC fiscal performance and blur the sustainability of both programs. So I'm asking if that would be considered in the new budgeting process?
This is asking a resolution that is indicating that the fire chief will undertake a review of the organization of the fire department and will come back to council with recommendations. And that could very well be one of the recommendations, but that's.
So if I may, so yeah, there's like 51 recommendations in there.
That's right.
And I mean, I can only do one or two at a time.
Yeah.
So, you know, recognizing that there's a lot of other ones that have to get done in there. The RTC is obviously on the radar, but I mean, I can only do one or two
That's
at a
right.
time.
No, but it's in there for the future, yes.
I think the treasurer wanted to speak about this, but I'll just speak to it. When the treasurer and I were looking at the new chart of accounts, we have a couple of digits assigned for departments, and we were going to assign a department for the RTC. So it would be outside of the fire department. It would have its own report and so forth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, thank you very much.
Again, is there any further discussion on this organizational review? It's been moved and seconded. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We next have report number 2025 to obtain council approval to use the remaining funds of the NOHFC Northwest Recreation Center grant. It's been moved and seconded. It's on page 41 to 43. Oh, you just can sit there and read, I'm sure. Okay, so the resolution has been moved and seconded. It's open for discussion. Yes.
I just wanted to comment before council begins to discuss this. In the agenda, there's two reports that have a connection. There's 6C, what we're looking at now, and also 6F. They have a connection. It would be better to look at F before we looked at C.
Okay.
But in any event,
We can do that.
yeah, maybe we should
Can go to,
take a look at number F first,
Sure.
letter F. I think that's on at page 75.
Yes.
Kind of flows that better that way.
okay, so we will now go to page 74 and 75, and there's a resolution moved and seconded to recommend the deferral of the capital projects listed below at the Norwest Rec Center. That's the jet ice water treatment, the suspended spectator heater, and the Zamboni fire door. Resolution has been moved and seconded. It is now open for discussion. Councillor Viss? Oh,
No.
it's not, is this, it's still the NOHFC budget?
Or is it still tied in there?
No, it's separate. Then you'll have to leave again.
Let's get his exercise.
That's right. Oh, hopefully we can find him.
Who's been building? That's right.
He did leave. He left the building. He went home. I don't think so.
Put in.
Oh, he's there. We're discussing F. We're looking for him.
Went on the 3-hour tour.
We have gone to F first, as the
That's up.
two are connected. So we're now discussing 6F. Okay, so it's page 74, 75, and it has been moved, the resolution, and it's open now for discussion.
So,
Councillor Calvert.
so basically, we're just taking this off the table for now, as like you say, there's a sort of a time restraint too on this. It doesn't look like possibly it might not get done, wouldn't have got done anyways in the timelines.
Yeah, through the chair, the deferral of these three things is directly related to our application for stream one.
Yeah.
They'll be reevaluated, bring them back in future budgets or other funding applications that may come available.
Okay. Any further questions, Councillor Bliss?
Yes, this resolution states that we will move it from 25 to 26. That meaning we're committing ourselves $233,000 to next year's budget. Why are we not dealing with that when we deal with the budget?
That's what you're going to do. They're going to bring the budget to us.
No, it doesn't say that here.
It says we're deferring the projects and moving them to 2026.
That's my
That's
point.
when we will work on the budget. It'll be part of the
It
budget.
doesn't say that. It just says move 233,000 from 25 to 26. And I say we should be dealing with when the budget, I agree with you on that. It should be done when the budget comes and not automatically transfer that over saying that's our commitment. Because if we pass this resolution come budget time, we'll say, well, there's $233,000 you already supported.
No, we're just supporting the deferral. We're not supporting that budget will be approved with them. This is to support the deferral of the capital projects. That's all we're approving. Council, please.
Through the chair to Councillor Viss's point, the recommendation states, we defer the three projects to 2026. We could very simply put comma budget process.
Okay, the 2026
Yeah,
budget,
to the budget.
For consideration in 2026,
yes,
to 2026 for consideration.
yes, fine, yeah. That would be fine.
And then further, if we go on just beyond that recommendation, under your report on the chiller and condenser, I think that something went really wrong there. We spent an extra $100,000 without our knowledge, and that came to light after the fact when we had already passed. So when I looked at this, I said, if I have a 1,400 square foot home and I put an air conditioner in, I put that in for that square footage. I don't buy that a 2,800 square foot air conditioner for 1,400 square foot house, and I think something went wrong here. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so we would put for 2026 budget.
Yeah, I'm gonna
deliberate.
change it to, so we say, for the Northwest Recreation Center from 2025 for consideration in 2026.
Right.
For consideration.
So the people that move that,
The Councillor
Councillor Viss and
Councillor Viss.
Councillor
Are
Calvert.
you
yeah.
agreeable to those changes?
I do.
Okay.
Okay.
It's now, again, we've had an amended resolution and it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will now go back to 6C. Okay. There it is. Okay, we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded to recommend the authorization of applying the remaining unspent funds of the NOHFC Northwest Recreation Center grant to the condenser replacement and chiller rehabilitation projects. Is there any discussion on this? It's been moved and seconded. Councillor Viss.
Yes, I'll make a comment on that. I think we need to move ahead with it. We have it sitting here in place and it's after the fact, so I think we have any choice. We need that, by the middle of August, so I think we have moved for it.
Well, and yes, and the money is there, so. Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. What is the process to revise the grant funding change? Do we have to apply to NOHFC for?
No, it's my
approval?
it's my understanding, I could be wrong, Chris could correct me, but when they're unspent funds, you talk with them and bring forth other projects that apply to the same Northwest Rec Center and they approve it.
Is that how it works, John?
It was Chris I asked.
I'm sorry.
Councillor Chris?
I thought the treasurer would know.
Through the chair, we communicate regularly with NHFC. We have a person that we communicate with. As you can see on page 43, we've allocated different programs throughout as underages were reported. We continue to spend money and not do other projects. There's no difference in regards to the site that NOHFC had applied for before. And we have a very good flavor with the person that we can apply these funds that are unspent to this project because it
Yeah.
meets the requirements.
I believe you brought that to our attention in the past, so thank you. Any further discussion? Yes.
Further to that, what is the status of the Zamboni purchase and the condenser and chiller project? Are we going to be over on either of those that will affect the bottom line that for the remainder of the proposed funding change?
Through the chair, the chiller rehab condenser replacement totaling $418,000 was approved in the capital budget with a budget price from our service provider. That price for the previous report showed that budget's going to come in at $325,500. Including some miscellaneous work that had to be done by Public Works and other vendors. We have an outlet of about $369,000 to do that job. We budgeted $431,000 with the basis of getting the CSIRF grant and NHFC applying to that. We will be under budget on the chiller and condenser replacement from approved budget.
Okay, thank you.
And the Zamboni?
We're working on a delivery date as we speak.
And one further question with regard to the work that's done in-house, are those labor charges applied to these projects or is it just absorbed in payroll?
Through the chair, based on various previous discussions, there's been a movement to track somewhat labor costs. For the last 5-7 years, it's been part of what we do and the whole community does not get charged for individual projects. We have made a focused effort to track our costs starting May 1st this year to various departments that we go to.
Okay.
It's a document that's done in the back office. There's no counting, there's no GLs, there's nothing. It's just a very high level review of what hours are going where.
Okay, thank you. In the departments. Any further questions? So we have the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. He's in there. I just
For the room.
You're not walking around again, eh? Okay, we have a resolution. Now there's two resolutions, so we only agree to one of the two. Just asking here for the infrastructure loan bylaw.
No, there are two different bylaws. One bylaw is for the fire trucks and the other one's for the paving. So there's two different bylaws.
Do it separately. Okay. So the first resolution, it's in regard to the loan application for the Kekebeka Village paving bylaw. It has been moved and seconded. It is open for discussion. Councillor Viss.
Yeah, so I just have a couple of questions. What are we making on our investments that we have now? It shows that we have 6.7 million reserves, so we've got a great windfall coming our way. And I don't know, it doesn't show in this report, if we, the loan, what interest rate will we have to pay? If that interest rate is going to be higher than what we make on our investment, why aren't we now borrowing it from ourselves and then pay our interest ourselves, our money making money rather than not?
So we haven't finalized the rate with Structure Ontario yet. That's part of the final process. Because the rates change over time. But it will be much lower than the commercial rates are. And right now we are vested through Investment Ontario for our reserve funds, and we make the rates have come down. We make probably 1.25% earning.
Thank you. That's my point. If we're only collecting 1.2% and the rate of the loan is going to be way higher than that, so why aren't we borrowing from ourselves and pay ourselves it? And if the charge is 3% or 4%, whatever it is, whatever it goes to, we collect it from ourselves and put it in our reserves. I mean, it's simple. We're sitting on that money.
So between these two projects, if I'm correct, we're looking at $4.3 million altogether. Yes.
No, the one loan would be for about 1.7
Receipts
million,
down here, yeah.
and the fire truck replacement would be for 1.3 million.
So that's that's almost $3 million. Can we do that out of reserve, 3 million? It's a lot of money.
Well, Mayor Lucy, if I just made before we get in, I don't mean to say that I leave it up to staff to take
Yes.
a look at. We have two different resolutions, one or the other. Maybe we can only do one, maybe we can do two, or maybe none. I'm just saying it doesn't give us what it costs us to borrow versus what we get on income, and income 1.2%. Like there's no doubt we're going to be paying more. So let's pay ourselves that type of money. I leave that up to staff, but they think they can swing. With that windfall we got coming, wow.
Councilor Reese, thank you. Councilor Peacock?
Thank you. I'm not familiar with the Ontario, the Infrastructure Ontario loan process. But this project was, in particular, the Kekabeka Village paving, that was done last year. And we already paid for it. So don't you ask for money before you do a project? Is that
No. Don't
not a
necessarily.
normal process?
So Infrastructure Ontario does offer that that service where we can apply for funding before we complete the project. That'll help fund the building of the project. However, we have sufficient funds to cover that cost. And they also offer the service of providing a loan against an asset, which is what this is.
And what happens if we don't get this loan?
In terms of Infrastructure Ontario doesn't approve it?
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
Then are we dipping into our reserves even
we-
further, or how?
we've
We've already paid, yeah,
Yeah, so we've already paid for the
the pavement,
paving.
yeah.
So that was essentially paid for out of reserves, because we hadn't completed the loan. And if we would have to pay for it, then either come up with a plan to finance the trucks, which haven't been paid for yet, which may involve other big tax increases,
Mhm.
or use of reserves to replace the money that we had planned to for the loan. So
And the value of the project for the Kekabeka paving, is that an estimate, or is that the final cost for the project?
the 1,695
Yes.
is based on a ratio to what the actual cost was.
Yes, Councilor.
Just one further question. It says on the long term, how long are you proposing this? Because you gotta remember, as you do that long-term loan on roads, it'll restrict us in the coming year. So have you any idea, it doesn't state here at all, how long your long-term loan is or what you're looking at?
We're right now, we're looking at a 5-year loan, which was what was in the budget.
Yes,
Yikes.
I believe that's what we did with Oliver Road.
So that's.
We got a loan and split it over 5 years because it's being used by us hopefully for 5 years.
At least 5.
Yes, at a minimum, so.
When that decision is made, is there any discussion made with the director of operation, how that will affect him in the next couple of years? Because we do take a pile of his money right off the bat and on the 5-year deal. I don't know what project he has or in mind, and maybe he's suggesting if there's something major coming up, he may just say, yeah, that's fine, but maybe make it 3 years. I don't know that. That doesn't state in my report.
So through the chair, since 2015, we've had a loan payment in the Public Works Department, anywhere in the neighborhood of $588,000 to $701,000 a year. As they expired, we did other projects that continued that same payment throughout our operating budget that's been approved every year. This structure here would be a 3 or 5 year term, depending on what the math looks like. It isn't currently in the budget, and anticipation for every year there go forward, we are going to have a loan payment in one way, shape, or form to balance the requirements of the Public Works Department.
Okay, so you're
Yep.
comfortable.
Yes, yeah, we just continue. One is paid off and then another
As
one.
long as you're comfortable.
Yeah, through the chair, if I may just add to that, the asset management plan will show you where we're going to have these blips, where financing models have to be arranged. And currently, as I said, for 10 years, we've been carrying $700,000, $688, something like that, since 2015 as a loan payment every year there forward.
Yes,
When the asset management gets finalized, you'll see that maybe that's got to increase to another 100,000 for all the departments. We don't know what that looks like yet.
I do think we should borrow this money. The idea about, money that we're going to be getting from the OPG fill going into the landfill, use that up right away on projects like this. Well, there's always another project like this coming up. And the alternative is to the money that we get from the OPG, keep it in your reserve and invest it better and get better income out of it. If we could earn 5% on that money, we're further ahead than if we decide to spend it on these things.
should be investigating ways to invest that money, yes.
Yeah, I think I say to the clerk's point, that we have had discussions with Investment One, and there are options for us to move. As a municipality, we're limited in our investment
Yes.
choices, but there are options that Wayne and I are looking at that will allow us to earn better returns, closer
Yes.
to market rates on our returns. So we will come back with a report at a future council meeting.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. And further to this, how many loans at one time is a municipality able to have? Because as we discussed earlier, there is a proposal for working on a new fire hall. Now, in this report, it can be anywhere from $3 to $7 million. Is that now another project that we may have to apply to the government for funding for? Or if after 5 years, maybe the fire hall will be built and we can start again, but just wondering if there are provisions as to how many loans you are allowed.
There's no limit to the physical number of loans. You can have 10 or 15 or 20, but you are limited to the ability of the municipality to service that debt.
Right.
That's
And
right.
right now, we're nowhere near the limit where we have debt we could service, given our debt-based expenditure. So now with future projects like the fire station and stuff, I guess we'll have to explore those when they come up. I can't tell you how much funding we'll be able to secure from other levels of government for the fire station. But right now, we're not at near our limit of debt servicing.
Yes.
Just to add to the treasurer's answer, it's called the annual repayment limit, and we get that from the province every year about what our maximum debt repayment can be. And I don't want to venture a guess here. At the break, we can check that out, but I believe it's in the neighborhood of 20% of your tax base, something like that. So our taxes are about 10 million, so we would be able to, if it's 20%, that'd be 2 million a year you can have in payments. And we have right now 700,000, I think. Plus there's a SNEMS loan too. I forget how much that is.
this building.
Mhm.
That's this building.
Loan to ourselves.
That's an internal loan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we have some capacity to borrow money, but, anyways.
Well, I guess you know where I stand on interest payments. First of all, when you look at the federal government, provincial government now, for every tax dollar we pay them, between 35 and 40% of that goes in interest payments. Let's not go to that route, guys. That's ridiculous, a waste of money. I mean, sure, they could say borrow, but your taxpayers got to pay that. And so if you got to pay 35-40% of your income in interest payments, you got to be kidding me. What's your taxes going to end up? Can't do that kind of stuff. That interest payment kills people. Breaks, bends, puts them over the end. They're done. We don't want to go there. There's municipalities that happens to them. They're finished. Can't do that. Don't even think of that.
We will be looking at 0.4% of our operating budget being interest
Thank you.
on this, so we're not getting to that level.
And if you,
With regards to the fire station, for example, one of the things would be, capital projects like that are generally funded through capital, long-term debt, capital borrowing. And we would, maybe perhaps on a $4 million fire station, look at a term longer than 5 years as the asset is expected to last longer than 5 years. That would be
before
another
we,
example of how we might look at our debt servicing.
and before we get to that point, we would be at the in Toronto looking for grant money.
Yeah.
For some or all,
That-
for some or all,
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
what you do, yeah.
Mhm.
So, and then again, if you get the money you get in, that you have in reserve, you look for places to invest safely, but for a higher interest rate, then
Yeah.
we're in good shape that way.
Yes.
Councillor Kamphoff?
So, so we're having a large conversation here that's not totally focused on what the item is, but
Mhm.
but ultimately I'm hearing staff saying, oh, we're looking at better investments. We're also looking at loans. I mean, back to Councillor Biss's point, can we at least have a good look at maybe making a better investment in
Right.
the stuff we've already purchased and we're looking at getting capital loans for? So, I mean, it obviously, there's going to be a time when we need perhaps to go outside of our own organization, but if we can't trust ourselves to pay ourselves back, I'm not sure what kind of a better investment we could be making.
Yes,
We can, say, okay, don't borrow this money, but I'll tell you, we're gonna be back here having to borrow money. So it's the question, do you want to defer it to another time or do you want to do it now? Because we'll never have, it's affordability. If you want you're a new couple, you want a house, you got to get a mortgage to get it. And that's what the issue is here. In the next few years, we got to buy fire trucks. We're going to have to do various capital jobs. We don't always have the tax resources to do it. So either you borrow the money or you tax people uncontrollably. The one opportunity we have now with the OPG money coming in, that is kind of a windfall. We have an opportunity there to try to earn better interest rate. If you can get involved in some of the investment type things where you can get a 5%, you're beating the interest rates that you pay here.
yes. So this,
Lucy, that's exactly what I've been saying. Thank you. Look, if we can get our interest on the investments, why not? But right now, we're not doing that, was my point. And now you folks are saying, we're going to look into it. Well, look into it before you make us make a decision. That's all. I agree with you fully. That's what we should be doing. If we can get 5% on our investment, why not? But if our 1.5% doesn't make sense in my book. You see, I always come back, and that's why I think I drive you guys crazy, back into my business into farming. I used to save up as much as I could if I had to buy a new tractor. I might not have had the whole thing, but I had a good chunk of it. And now I go to the dealer and say, I want a year, but interest-free, I'll give you that much. And you know how many deals I made? Piles of them. And that's how I operate, because I said every dollar interest I pay is a dollar I get nothing for. And I hate paying interest. I always have. And that's just maybe my Dutch cheapness in there, but that's how I operate it. And I think when I think of these things, municipality, why are we not trying? We're trying to save money for the people that in our municipality. And we're successful. We're running a good business. That's why we're getting growth here. So let's not get away from that.
Just in regards to this plan to increase our return on investments. One of the factors is that to do what we talked with investment one about requires investment on our behalf in terms of time and money and that type of stuff. And you know, given what we had in the past, there was a trade-off. Was it worth it to devote all these resources to earn a slightly smaller amount? Given that we're expecting much larger in the future, well, now it's worth it. So I mean, like, you know, if you go to the bank and you've got $800 in your savings account, you know, they don't give you the same interest rate as if you have $800,000 in your savings account, and you don't pay investment advisors to advise you on $800, right? You pay them to advise you on $800,000, right? So that's where we're in the past. That we've looked at it, and we're looking to improve that. But you know, it is an investment in the administration's time and stuff to set up these programs and investment programs. It's not a passive investment thing where you're getting funds automatically, or money automatically like you do when you use an investment money. So
Okay. I do know in the past, when we did the first section of Oliver Road, we borrowed the money for it. We had payments. We did payments over 5 years. And then when those payments came to an end, we then did the rest of Oliver Road with a loan, almost the same amount of payment approximately. Now that loan is complete, then we are going to borrow for this large project, which is in the millions.
payments will be.
And the payments will be about the same. So that part of the roads, public works budget has always been there on a line, that payment. It's not changing the budget any from previous years. And it's still part of what we're doing in the municipality is a large road construction project. So I don't know, we decided this when we did the budget last fall. That's all I can say. Yes.
I just can't recall, when are we due to make the last payment on the road debt? I think our payment was 700,000. Isn't that this year, or was it already passed?
Already done.
So right now we have no payments. Okay, so
But we are carrying a payment in the approved budget.
we carried a payment in the approved
It's
budget.
part of our budget already. It's already a line item we approved last October or November. So, yeah.
Usually, I think you guys are missing the boat here, from either that or I'm saying it wrong. I'm not saying we shouldn't. If we need to do it, we do it. My point is, if we can get a better deal than what we can get on our investment, use our own money. That's all I'm trying to say. If you can't, then we do this. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know. I think you guys think that I'm all against it, but I am not. I'm just saying, let's have a look at it. If the money that we have available to us is a better sense of using that and paying ourselves rather than the bank somewhere, well, then let's do that. That was all my
Yes.
point.
Okay, so, yes.
We'd already said in the budget that we were gonna continue this on to
Oh,
pay
no
for this. Exactly.
Yeah, I have no
So,
problem with that.
no-
I think that's where we get mixed up. I don't have a problem,
Okay.
Councilor Calvert. We're going to do the work.
Yeah.
And if we can't fund it ourselves, then of course we got no choice. I understand that. I just no problem. I'm just saying there's an opportunity. Maybe we can use our own money, make 5%,
Get more.
if whatever it is. That's all I'm saying. If we get 5% interest on our investment and we borrow, then it doesn't matter. Then we're even. But if we're only going to get 1.5%, I say there's money to be made for us. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So in order to make that decision, we have to get back from administration what the different percentages are?
Can I make a suggestion? Say, leave it with staff. If they can get an increase in the investments we have, that's what the interest rate that we have to pay, do the thing.
Right.
And so we don't need to hold it and come back and discuss the thing to death again. We just leave them with that there, and they've come back and say, hey, we can invest some money, we get 5%, and it's costing us 5 or 5.5. Go ahead.
Is that a possibility to find in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I mean, this is paid for already. Quebec has been paid for, so it's not like the contractor's waiting for any money.
Yeah, I can get you, the answers.
Some
for
numbers.
The next meeting. However, then this is just a bylaw that allows us to move to kind of like the next step with Infrastructure Ontario. It's not actually committing us to the loan.
Okay, so
Okay,
that's
so-
not an actual
Okay.
commitment to the loan
Okay.
then.
So that would be just, the actual commitment to the loan is another step and that involves.
Oh.
Yeah,
the
so that's-
mayor and-
that's good enough.
That's good
Yeah,
enough.
read
then.
it here.
That's good enough.
So this is just allowing us to move to the next step with Infrastructure Ontario.
Yeah.
Because.
Good. That's
At that
fine.
point, you'll find out interest rates, et
Okay,
cetera,
that's fair.
and that'll give you a chance to look up some investment.
Yeah,
Banks themselves have people that can help you with looking at investments, safe investments that don't put the taxpayers' dollars at risk. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I realize we've already paid for the Quebec paving project, but what about the pumper rescue and the tanker? What's the status on those? Are we going to be looking at foregoing a good chunk of our budget from 2025 by year end for those? Are we looking at getting a bill soon?
So both chassis have been delivered and they're at the TCI, and the body on the pumper tanker, I believe, is in the process of being built. My intent was to go there today to get an update, actually. I would
Mhm.
expect one, potentially both of them delivered by the end of the year.
Okay, so, but are they required to get a payment at this time, or?
I believe we've already paid
You've already-
down payment, part of it.
Yeah,
approximately a third.
a third of it, so, okay. So there is no panic. This is just giving you authority to go and get some information from the
That's good.
Ontario Infrastructure Loans Department. Okay, so we have a resolution. The first one is for the fire truck. No, sorry, the Quebec Village paving bylaw. It's been moved and seconded and discussed. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then the second bylaw, which is, resolution, which has been moved and seconded, is for the fire vehicle replacement. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item we have is report 2025-127, which is the landfill punch card system. And this we discussed at our last meeting, and we have a resolution. There's two different resolutions. Either one has to be passed, or the drafting of revisions to the bylaw.
The agenda is not printed properly. There are two different resolutions for
Different.
this.
Okay, so we'll just do the first one at first, which is recommending the drafting of the revisions to bylaw 30-2025 waste management based on the proposals in the report regarding landfill punch cards for multi-residential properties using the following entitlement opinion. It has been moved and seconded. It is open for discussion. Councillor Viss.
Yes. Again, I really have a problem. We referred that or deferred that for see if we can come up with a solution that would satisfy everyone. There's a little bit of a movement in these 3 pages that are presented to us, but it's really not a resolution to make everyone happy. I really, in my mind, I can't get my head around why they are not considered a taxpayer when they have an assessment value on the home, like all of us have here around this table. And then when you see the bill that was provided by us by a resident that shows the residential rate applied to that assessment, the only difference is he doesn't carry his money to this office. It had indirectly, it still comes to us. And so when I looked at this, and when I'm bamboozled here with all those numbers that they gave me on page 72. You go anywhere from 44,000, 35,000, 35,000, 44. Look, let's put it really simple. The owner gets 9.5 cards. That entitles him 96 trips to the landfill site in a year. 96 trips. Okay? So I'm saying if you took half a card away from, let's do this on a trial basis. If you take that half, that's $200. Give the two people that have been here at every meeting a residential card stamped on the trial basis. I give them 10 punches each, there's your $200. You're out nothing. You got a trial period from July till December, and because we record everybody that comes there, we can now see how it works. Are they abusing it? Are they anywhere near it? Is there a problem with the owner? And or do we have a problem as they come in there? So there's a solution that for a 6-month trial, you could do that, and they could record, because they record, as I come there, I give my card plus the punch ticket. And for as commercial or agriculture, we have an agriculture residential. You know what? I have 2 punches on my agriculture card. 2! And I bet you Council Camp may have none. And maybe not. On my residential, I'm just past the halfway mark. And I got only Saturday left. So there's not a great big thing here. And I thought there is something that maybe, at least when we run a trial for 6 months, we can find out, is it being abused, it is not being abused. So I would suggest that we go to that kind of a 6-month trial, give those 2 people and stamped on there trial basis so that people at the landfill site know who's coming in there and just record that. That's my resolution.
Option B, what we did exactly does what you ask for.
Doesn't say that unless I read it wrong.
It does.
It does.
Well, then that's where we want to go.
It gives the
They get-
owner, just
everybody
to make it
gets-
understand, it gives the owner his card, the owner of the property, and 9 extra cards. Right? No,
We've always had the principle in the municipality, only property owners get landfill access cards, and that's what this is based on. Okay, so what will need to be happening is the landlord of the multi-unit residential place has to provide a letter to the person saying they are occupants there. That's the first step. The next step is the owner, like the Happy Land place, they will get 9.25 residential cards, commercial cards, the equivalent to that. When you look on the page that shows the monetary situation, page 72.
Yep.
They, as opposed to someone who's just getting a commercial card, they get $3,040 worth of entitlements. That's how much entitlement they get when residential. The Happy Land potential for entitlement is $35,520. That's 9.25 times more than a company like TCI gets. So there's a lot of entitlement for the Happy Trailer Park. Option A, to put additional entitlement to the tenants on top of what the house. So that would be an entitlement of $44,400. And what we were saying is that the administration is that should be taken away from the entitlement already existing. So if the trailer park wants to convert some of his commercial entitlement to give cards to his tenants and provide them with a letter that they there, then everybody's gets what they want.
Well, I understand exactly what you're saying. My point is, though, you got a bunch of numbers here. Where do you get the numbers from? I using other municipalities, $2 a bag, $5 a bag. Is that's where you're using these numbers? That's how come we get at these numbers? Like, how do you know my card, my resident card, is worth so many dollars? Who makes the decision?
That's explained on page 73. We've set the rate at $10 a punch because it's $2 a bag every place else, and people from outside bringing the stuff here because it's cheap here. And we won't keep the $10 per entire punch.
I understand that. I could read that all for myself, but somebody made a decision it's worth that much. And how did you arrive at it? But let's not even go there because we'll never saw off on that issue anyway.
I got an answer for you. I took a look at the numbers with Chris, got the tonnage, the volume that we bring in, we convert the bags. The cost per bag is $2.17 operating cost, right? So we're saying two, so we're actually a little under the two. The actual operating cost is per bag. And if you take into account the capital, it's $3.45, right? So the $2 is less than what the actual cost is. So we're not got some kind of house of cards here or something, or $2 a bag is realistic.
Can I argue one more point backward? We'll be here all day. Who determines how many ton go in there? Nobody weighs my truck. I just go in there.
Go ahead.
It's volume. It's volume. And I didn't, the stuff that I just said to you, it's not in this report. I can bring it forward, I would be happy to. We've got the volume, right, of how much waste goes in, because the engineers that do the well have to do that. So you know how much it is. It's approximately 10,000 cubic meters.
Yeah, our 5-year average between both sites is 9,600 cubic meters in place, measured every year. We have to report that. It's called the data call for the MOECP. We converted that in situ quantity, divided by the amount of visits to figure out how many bags are coming in each visit. Did the math on our operating and come up with the $2.17 a bag.
Approximately 124,000 bags. I recall that number. If you take that volume and turn it into bags, 740 bags, and the price per bag, the operating cost, $2.17. If you take our budget, the capital cost that we have in 2025, it's $3.45. So the $2 a bag is not fanciful. It's a realistic amount. And again, that's not why we set it at $2. It's because everybody else is using $2. And if we had $5 for an allotment, we'd be getting stuff from Thunder Bay and warehouse, which was what we were getting before we even run this landfill card system.
Point well taken. I think we understood that. But just my last comment, okay? I don't want to get any longer. You can have 10 engineers, and 10 engineers will come up with numbers, and nobody's going to be the same. So we take one. Is he close? I don't know. Let's not go there. Okay. But anyway, back to my point. Let's try this on this trial basis. I thought, why couldn't we take it and then see if the owner is happy with that, if he loses that portion of his, and are the tenants happy, and is the municipality happy? We got nothing to lose. We got 6 months. Just try it. Give them a trial card. See how it works. Because we got total control of what comes in there.
Okay, option B is the tenant punch card entitlement with current punch card entitlement. That's the option that administration is saying is similar to what Councillor Viss is talking about. You're talking about giving two people.
Just for now, just take that half.
Moment, you're talking about right now for 6 months, giving two residents
Yeah.
of a card, but none of the other ones.
That's correct, because on a trial basis, we have to tell people work, because it's a unique situation, we're willing to try something on a trial basis. If
But-
council doesn't support that, that's fine.
But I mean, if you go with option B, there's going to be many more cards. I'll let you.
I think that Councillor Viss is saying the same thing as me, but there's a point that's missing. We got the thing that the property owner is in charge of the cards he gets. So we got to recognize that.
Yeah.
I don't see the municipality saying, okay, Mr. Landlord, some of the entitlement that we're going to give it to your tenants. He's in charge of that. Actually, one of the councilors found the information in the Residential Tenancy Act and so forth, that the landlord is responsible for the garbage of his persons and multi-residential, not the municipality. So we got to keep that onus on, do something to make sure his tenants are able to use the landfill access. The property owners get the landfill access here, they get the entitlement. The property owner can the deal to convert his entitlement to give the entitlement.
So
And
then-
you're perfectly right. I agree fully with it, because you see, that's why I keep coming back to this trial period. If the owner decides he does not want to do that, then we go to Tennessee Act and say, You could provide the recyclables and the full garbage, you gotta have it. So either you work with us or that's your option. And so try it and see if he's happy, if he's not happy.
So I think the option B is the best option that's presented by staff. And I don't understand what the point of a trial period would be, because what we're doing is we're putting the ball back into the landlord's court, that he should have the option to provide tenants with an adequate amount of punch cards. And that's, like, as was noted in provincial legislation, that is a requirement of being a landlord. You have to provide an option to get rid of your tenants' garbage. So I mean, we're taking all the boxes, we're taking out of our staff's responsibility, but I don't think we need to be getting in between landlords and tenants where we don't. I mean, that's not our role. Our role is to provide an option for landlords that is reasonable and gives them enough option to be able to supply their tenants with the ability to get rid of their garbage, and that this proposal does that very well. So,
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I realize that we're basing this decision on one unit, like for Happy Land. We've already told the owner of the property at 130 and Gardner, no, he's responsible for the garbage. His tenants can't get cards. We've got Rossdale Apartments, the Kekabeka Legion Apartments, the Kekabeka Seniors Homes. There's an apartment block on Haniak, and there's future development with Pennock Village. What are all of these owners going to be advised that they are also allowed tenant cards?
I would say they would be. Why wouldn't they? They're multi-residential. This is written for a multi-residential property. So if you're a multi-residential property, like the KB seniors, I think they'd be able to do this. I don't see the problem with doing that.
Through the chair, the only variable that comes into play is when it's to future life leases and stuff like that. The would be issued to the corporation.
Yes.
If they choose to offer full service on their site, as some other multi-residential properties do, it's entirely on them.
That's right.
This is a caveat. Option B would be applicable for administration to work with anybody that comes forward in a multi-residential and do the math and provide the access.
That's right.
But it's a commitment from the owner of the property to work with us. We'll give the allotment. It's not just carte blanche.
No.
And we're up against printing of cards starting again,
Mhm.
right? The next 3 months. We do not have time for a 6-month trial period. This option B should address all multi-residential properties. The homeowner, the property owner comes and talks to us and we'll work with it.
Okay, so just looking at this chart, if the property owner comes and speaks with you, he would get entitlement for 9.25 cards. So if you have 35, 36 trailers, 37, every 4 units could have 1 card. Is that the way you could look at it?
To Councillor Campos' point, it's up to
The landlord.
landlord to figure it out.
Right.
If he's doing a combination of handing out every 4 people get a card and they share it, 2 people share it, and he continues with the bin, that's up to him.
Okay.
I think we're mixing apples and oranges here, because the difference is people owning their places versus rentals.
That's correct.
I think we're talking about 2 different
Exactly.
things there. So
They are renting the land.
pardon me.
They're renting the land. They don't own the land.
No, I'm talking about, you're talking about people living in apartments and
Right.
they don't own that. They're just renting.
Just renting, you're
Right.
right. Yeah.
These people actually own, it's a different,
They own
I think we're talking
the
about 2
trailer,
different
but they
things.
don't.
And Mayor Lucy, that's been my point.
Okay.
They have an assessment, these KB seniors and all those places, the total unit is value. If anybody can come to us and say, this is the assessment of mine wherever I live, and this is the residential rate applied to it, you're welcome to use the amendment we have. But there is the only one that I know of, unless the one on 130 has each trailer individually assessed, then they're entitled to it. But those other apartments, they don't get assessed, you take the whole unit, so exactly how Carl was saying, you're mixing apples and oranges here.
But I still agree with option B, yes.
Oh, I do too.
So just to clarify, I mean, whether they're separately assessed or not, this municipality only issues one property tax bill to that
Land.
property, correct? So there's only one property owner, according to us. We don't need to be getting, in my opinion, we don't need to be getting in between whether people have separate assessments or not. I mean, that's up to the deal that the property owner makes with his tenants and the tenant owners of the buildings, or however that legal stuff is done. That shouldn't really matter to us. Back to the actual topic at hand, this is a very reasonable way to enable property owners to give cards to their tenants and have everybody have a very reasonable amount of allotments to be able to use the landfill site. And I'm in favor of option B.
So my final comment would be this. If they're not satisfied with that, the next installment for their taxes, they make the check, make payable to Oliver Municipality memo taxes 25, 26, and then cash it and see what happens. That's it. All I'm gonna say.
Still not
I'm
being,
done.
no, okay, anyway, yes.
One further question. It says on the bottom of page 70, it says administration would have the discretion to decide if a person would be allowed a punch card or to purchase a card. What is the purpose of that statement?
These are
That's the accessory use card.
extras.
That's it. That's the other part to this.
The
this-
accessory
yes.
usage. Okay, I apologize for that. Thank you. And number 5 on page 70 said property owners would have the requirement to retrieve punch cards should residents leave their property. So it's basically an honor system that the tenant would have this card, but it's up to the owner to get it back.
Well, if I were a landlord, right, and I was running a trailer park and somebody was there and they left in 6 months and I gave them a full card, I'd be saying, hey, bud, you're it because you've got another tenant coming in that you have entitlement for.
It's the landlord's job.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we have the resolution, it's been moved and seconded. We've just discussed it thoroughly. And that would be approving option B. Those in favor? Opposed? It's been moved. And then we have recommending the drafting of the revisions on the waste management based on proposals regarding the establishment of an accessory usage card. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? Accessory usage card. Okay, no further discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have, we did F already. Now we go to G. We have a resolution moved and seconded to move forward on a new website design. Resolution has been moved and seconded and is open for discussion, page 76, 78. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Would this be considered sole source? Or did we put this out for bid or how did that work?
Yes.
This is sole source. We have the person already running our website for a few years now, and we feel it's worthwhile staying with them. They provide us with good service. If we went to someone else, it probably cost 50,000. So once you get a relationship with a company, it's expensive to change, and we find that they're doing a good job for us. The problem, as the report talks about, our system, the guts of it, are antiquated. That's a big concern right now.
And I note that at least every meeting so far this year, at least once at one of the meetings anyways, we've needed to dip into our working funds reserve. So would there be an opportunity to have the treasurer advise us how far in we are on our working funds reserve from year end to now? Because it just seems that things are over budget or missed, come budget time.
I can put together a report for the next council meeting, in regards to, working fund reserve decisions made at council meetings. That I guess are not, you're asking for, reserve contribution, that were not originally in the 2025-26. Sorry, the 2025 budget. Is that my understanding? Because there is obviously in the 2025 budget, significant amount of contributions from reserves.
Right, and just the status of where we are from year end of last year to where we are to date with our requirements to use working funds reserve.
Right, and so, and we just want one caveat, we made the change this year, where we make the contributions at the beginning of the year rather than waiting to the end, so in theory, we have used that too, but I will get your report based on the non-budgeted items, is my understanding. What
Councillor Calvert?
So what I'm saying is, so we pay every year to this company to maintain, so wouldn't it have been a little bit more proactive on their part if they would have told us before the budget last year that this was coming up, like all of a sudden they dropped this on us, like after we've already done the budget and everything, like, is there no communication or something they, for this to say, hey, our design is getting, maybe give us a little heads up lead in into the following year for a budget or something like this, like it kind of makes you wonder, all of a sudden they're just throwing this at you now. Like,
One thing I can mention is they don't know when we do budgets. They may not know when we do
undoubtedly.
budgets. So, I mean, if that's what you wish, we can leave it until the fall and put it in our 2026-27 budget. Alan, Councillor Biss?
Yes, and I, Councillor Gallagher has a good point, why did people, but when I looked at the reasons, it says the current system reaching the end of life. And I hear lots of people say the difficulties getting on there, and it says move the property main menu, freeze the access and stuff and so on. So if we're at the end of life, and there's, and exactly as Councillor Calvert saying, why didn't they sooner? We need to improve that. More people are using the website. I hear so often, well, I don't know what's going on there, I can't find nothing.
Yeah.
And so if that is the case, for $25, if you're right, but maybe we should just move ahead and do it then, but
I'm not against it, I'm just saying, like, a little bit of lead in time would have been like.
I understand that.
They
I
know this
agree.
stuff better, like.
yeah, I agree with you there.
Question of the treasurer, when we pass, if this is passed, do you immediately take the 25,000 out of the working fund and add it into the budget, or is this left till the end of the year? The moving of the 25,000, because I know you're doing that with budget. When we've budgeted something coming out of a reserve, you put it in, but this stuff, is it done right away, or do we wait and see if maybe at the end of the year, it doesn't have to be done?
I'll answer the treasurer because we just did that policy. We're going to book it.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So that,
Whether we use it or not, I don't know. So if we're doing these things, we do them, then we've overstated our expenses, our draws on the reserve. But it's better to overstate your draws than to understate them and find out you got a
Yeah.
problem later.
the end of the year, it would just go back into the,
Yeah, at the end of the year, we're just gonna reconcile backwards,
yes,
where in the past we reconciled forwards, I guess is the best way to
okay.
describe the process,
Just the
so.
thought I had. on
Yeah,
that, yeah.
so,
okay.
and just as a comment too, I can't speak to this, exactly, but, the requirements for these websites are constantly changing based on ministry regulations and stuff. So it's not, you don't always know where they're going to be going. And so I'm just in terms of planning ahead, right? The
I do know
changes.
that some,
AOAD
Yeah.
they keep coming new regulations every month or 2 months, and then suddenly you're obsolete,
It
right?
reminds me of your iPhones, every year you gotta get a new one.
Yeah.
I do know that
Jeez.
there are times where it's very difficult to find something you're looking for. If I'm going on there out of curiosity, I'm looking for something, and it can be. So to smooth that out for the public would be nice, Councillor Campoff.
Just, can we have maybe a brief discussion about the company that we're working with and how did we end up with them and how's our relationship been with them? And I mean, has it been wonderful and great? And would this be a time to perhaps look out at for a different vendor if we feel that's an issue?
It's the vendor that's come to us
Yeah.
and indicated that we're outdated, and it's,
Well, obviously to their benefit because they're going to be
Mhm.
getting work. So I mean, but should we be looking at farming this out to somebody else or are we more than pleased, or is this, are they doing a lot of other municipalities or something? Like, how did we end up with them?
14 years ago, I guess. Oh, yeah.
Back when the initial website was designed, probably 2013 or so, there was a company, Corcola Design, that was chosen. And it ended up, there was a couple of the employees there that worked specifically on our site. Corcola Design then dissolved, and a couple of those workers went off to Shout Media. So they continued the relationship with us to continue working on our website, and they have the familiarity of all the different needs that we have, and working with them has been excellent. We can call them up and have something done immediately. There's no delays, so more than pleased with their service.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? So again, the resolution has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item we have is awarding an RFP for the Public Works Garage with the roof replacement. Okay, and it's on page 79 to 81. The resolution has been moved and seconded to awarding the contract to TW Contracting, Inc. It's open for discussion. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just a couple of questions with regard to the scoring system is one thing. Will that be looked at, or is that the same scoring system that's used for all projects? So basically, if you put in a lesser price, we'll go with you kind of thing. This is how it appears on to be written on this report.
The scoring system for each project is in theory is unique. However, generally we use a similar scoring system for the same type of projects. And the scoring system is spelled out as part of the RFP that we send out. So we don't have a fixed scoring system, but generally the scoring system is consistent between projects. And it is indeed heavily weighted towards price. But
Couple of other questions with regard to the tender itself. What happens with the old tin? Were there provisions in the contract for what is done or to happen with the old tin?
For the chair, we anticipate some of it will be lost due to the construction techniques, but we are intent on salvaging and storing on site.
Okay, and does the contract indicate that they have to have proof that the contingency be used to purchase the materials? Should we need additional sheeting, or is it up to the contractor just to go and buy the sheeting in anticipation that it's going to be needed? Does he have to have approval from anyone?
It's spelled out. Administration will direct them that roof is rotten and we'll buy the sheeting accordingly. It's no different than any contingency item on any other major capital work that we administer in-house.
Yes, especially a roof. Can speak from experience. When they redo the roof and they start taking things off and they come back and say, Lucy, that part is rotten and you got to pay to have that done. And you got to do it. And that's what a contingency is for. Councillor Campo?
Just want to know if you have any, through the chair and to the operations manager, if there's any comment on the difference between the budgeted amount and the tender amount.
So
So
through the,
that's significant.
through the chair, last year, we met with a vendor that specializes in this type of work. And there were some concerns in regards to the pitch of the roof, the underlying structure, what it actually was. And at that time, an assessment was made that it was going to be well over the budget that was intended last year. Since that time, I don't know what's gone on with building trades or price of the steel metal roof, but at that time and prior to summer last year, when we were looking at tendering that job, we were instructed verbally that we did not have enough budget.
Hmm.
We then deferred it.
Mhm.
Players changed, things happened, we adjusted the budget. Here we are with a complete RFP that we're ready to go.
Perfect. Councillor Peacock?
Just one other question. I wasn't able to get the tender that had been advertised on our website. Is there a holdback for the projects?
As with all our general conditions of all our contracts, we have a holdback that we set off.
Okay, thank you.
All the same. Councillor is.
Yeah, just on the scoring points, I guess it wasn't long ago when we awarded a contract to a company that we didn't have much successful with about 5 years ago. And because the lower scored 70 points, he got awarded the job he has now. Time will tell, which will be behind whether that was a wise decision or not, because if we have to redo half it again like we did the other one 5 years ago, then it's probably not a good deal. And I'm talking about the paving and not mentioning companies, but there was the paving on the Oliver Road. And so it's the same thing here again. Also, this company here did a bunch of work for us at the Heritage Park and built a new building. There was some issues there, and I can't remember what was with the roofing. That's all I remember. I don't even know the details. Maybe you have a little better idea. They had to redo something or something wasn't quite right. So I guess my point is, should we look at that scoring of 70 being maybe too high of a gaining point? I don't know that.
Through the chair, as John had mentioned, every scoring is unique, but the overall impression of the municipality is that the lowest price is worth the highest rating. To deviate from that, I believe puts a lot of onus on budgeting.
Okay.
Okay, so to your point, there was a screw and a piece of flashing that came out on
That's
that.
what it was. I couldn't remember what it was.
To your second point, it was 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that previous contractor that you just mentioned performed work. Yes, time tells all.
Yeah.
Contractor rating is a very tricky slope. I will say that. And budgeting is not an art. It's best guess.
Mhm.
Sometimes we get lucky, sometimes we are bang on the money, and sometimes we're out to lunch. And we've had all three this year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Councillor Peacock?
Just one last comment. I just want to be sure that we are following the procurement bylaw with regard to this tender. That's all. Thank you.
The tendering process followed the procurement bylaw. This meeting, our discussion we're having now is part of the procurement bylaw. So we will follow the procurement bylaw. Now there are, I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't say this. There are provisions of the procurement bylaw that if you're not happy with this, you can say no to the recommendation. That's allowed within the procurement bylaw. So, but so far we follow the procurement bylaw and we will follow.
It's perfect then. So we
Yeah.
have a resolution. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have a resolution in regards to the blue box regulations. And we're asking that the recyclables from ineligible sources be included in the blue box regulation. We did not have it. Oh, it's a long one. So
Right, I'll just comment on what we are doing here. In this report, the last page of it, page 100, what we've done is taken this resolution from the municipality of Tweed and put it on our resolution sheet. So it reads exactly the same. And the issue is the current blue box regulation still does not, and the proposed changes still don't include anything other than residential recycling. And all municipalities have said it should. And so that's what we are going to comment, that the ineligible sources, they call them, the stuff that is not residential recyclables, they should be handling in this stream. We shouldn't have two different streams. But it's just a commentary. It's in the report. And it was actually in the news recently. The producers have pushed back against the blue box regulation, and it has been proposed now in all of this stuff. They're watering down what the plan was in 2018 to make the producers responsible. It's they've weakened it. So the producers have written, and that's where we're kind of sitting now. I don't know what the ramifications of all that are going to be. It could be that municipal taxpayers end up eating costs again.
Again,
And or there could be other consequences if we don't eat costs and all that, things that the producers don't want to be recycling and all that just end up in the landfills. So, but the point here though is what the municipality tweet said, the ineligible stuff that's in the regulation should be stricken so that there's one stream to handle all recyclables. Because the producers are the people that put it together in the first place. But they're not, the provincial government's not going that way.
so is there any discussion? Councillor Pico?
Perhaps this is not exactly on topic, but what's the status of the recycling process at our landfill sites? Are we finding that because you need a punch to use the landfill site and put your recycling in, are a majority of the residents just putting the recycling into the garbage? Or is the recycling, because it was pretty full when I was there the other day, so just wondering the status of the company that we use to provide that service to empty those bins.
Through the chair, twofold. The punch card system has not impacted the amount of recycling we bring in.
Okay.
If anything, there's more. Okay? The fact that there's 5 bags allowed, if one of them, we're probably seeing more one dedicated blue than we were before, is my personal opinion. Our service provider is doing the bare minimum at the best.
And we have no
Brutally
choice.
honest.
Yeah.
And at zero cost to the municipality currently.
But we have no regulation or no authority over that because they are now.
Through the chair, there's been many a time, and we've reached out through other municipalities to find out how the transition has gone. It has not gone well across the board for most municipalities.
In Northern Ontario or?
It's
Yeah.
Northern Ontario. And they seem to be less frequent and less attentive to everybody's municipality's needs, not just ours.
Councillor Viss.
Well, reading through this, I said, I certainly going to rely on our staff because I have no idea. And I keep saying in here, the minister's looking for feedback on whether this change would impact your system. Of course it is going to do that. That's why we got the report. So I'm fully aware of that letter from Tweed, and I think we got to support it. Is you're downloading another thing to us, and the details, like Chris would know that mainly because he deals with that and our costs, so on. So I think we need to support this.
So we have that resolution with our name on it. Any further discussion? Yes.
Just want to add some color to this. I, listen to the radio and when driving to work, and people think, well, plastics, you put them in a landfill, whatever, plastics, whatever. Plastics are the scourge of our civilization right now. I was reading a story about the nanoplastics. When the plastics get smaller, they call them nanoplastics because they're, microscopic size and everything, and they're in everything. And each of us eats about a credit card every week. And the long-term health effects of these plastics that everyone is now consuming, because they break down the small particles and they can cross the blood-brain barrier, so they get into your unknown. But plastics are something that can't be used centuries forth. Something's got to change.
Councillor
You know,
Reese.
just interesting that you bring it. You talk about surprises. We bought mustard the other day and I looked at it and it says plastic from recycled plastic. I thought, oh, now how many other things are recycling they're using, but it's interesting, like when you brought that up, it's a little color to it. So, yeah,
Mustard plastic too.
maybe, and that's why I was so surprised when I read that on there, made from recycled plastic. And I said, well, isn't that interesting? Now I know what's going wrong up here, eating too much of the plastic.
It's brain barrier. Councillor Peacock.
Just one further comment. The one thing that is good at the landfill site now is that we don't have all those garbage bags hanging in the trees. It's a much cleaner site now.
They do a good job.
Okay, so we have the resolution. It's been moved and seconded. We've discussed it. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have a discussion on the Oliver Paipoonge Library vacancy. We have a resolution that has been moved and seconded with, are now discussing the options that we have. So, yes,
Just think, one thing I wanted to comment, the report noted that the candidate that was unsuccessful back in 2022 had said that she would stand. Unfortunately, we weren't able to contact her, and so we don't have an answer from her. So what we want to have for option one is to modify it slightly. It would say, appoint the remaining unsuccessful candidate from the November 30th, 2022 application. Yeah, but then it says, if option one is selected, this is the new part, if option one is selected on the resolution, if option one is selected and the candidate does not accept the appointment by July 18th, the vacancy will be advertised in the August 2025 newsletter.
we agree with that one.
I think that's good change.
Yeah, give this person first chance because they were interested in the job and has good qualifications, but if you can't get a hold of them, then,
So that's the modification to option one.
okay, so, and is that in there? So they've signed it with that option in there. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then finally, we have report number 2025, which is the removal of the agreement from 3252 Roslyn Road property, which is the one that's on our table. Because it's fulfilled the agreement from the title of 3252 Roslyn Road. So it was emailed to us and it's now here in hard copy. Resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item? No. Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, now we have the minutes of the Thunder Bay District Health Unit. We now have the bylaws. First bylaw is the Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation, Quebec paving. Okay, and the bylaw has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
I just had a question for, with regard to page 46. It says that administration does not think a special meeting of council is necessary to approve the offer. Prior to that, council will have been apprised of the interest rate expectations, can therefore authorize the mayor and treasurer to have the discretion to accept or not accept the interest rate. So getting back to, this was just to kind of look and see, correct? Or go ahead, Wayne, sorry.
Right, when you look at page 35, that report that's on page 46 is talking about when we go to a debenture process. This is not a debenture process. When we do a debenture process, then we'll have to be looking at how long are we going to borrow this money? What's the interest rate? That's not here today, as discussed in the open meeting. This is just the idea about we're going to be moving forward with it, but we could still pull the plug on it.
Okay.
And so it has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we had the Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation for the fire vehicle. This bylaw has been moved and seconded and is open for discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have a bylaw to contract TW Contracting Inc. Public Works Garage and Roof Replacement. It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Communication or action items is disability without poverty, the firefighter certification requirements, floating accommodations, and road salt usage. Is there any that any persons would like to bring forth for discussion? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Page 115. Just wondering if our fire chief has any comment on that with regard to the resolution passed by the Corporation of the Township of Black River, Matheson. That has to do with the requirements of the firefighter.
Or the mandatory certification?
Yes.
Not sure what to comment, although, except that this isn't going anywhere. So this municipality is trying to extend it. I disagree with that. I think we've had more than enough time. Our municipality's been working towards certification for almost 10 years now. And, I don't think the fire marshal is gonna give an exemption or an extension or anything on this. It's in place. July 1st, 2026 is the deadline, and
Get her out.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what you're looking for a comment, but
Yeah, just
I wouldn't,
input to it. That's
I wouldn't support it. I think we're well on our way to certification. I agree 100% with certification of the firefighters from a safety standpoint.
Okay. Perfect. And the then we have communications for information only, the LRCA annual report, the designated truck route proposal, the update from the board for DSAB, and the message from Chief Darcy Fleury. Yeah.
Those that didn't watch the meeting Monday,
Yes.
the designated truck route they asked to
Mhm.
the city.
Yes. I was asked what we would do now. We said we'd go to the province.
Yeah.
That's where we had to go.
Yeah, that's right, Mayor Lucy. I've had a number of calls on. I tell them the same thing. We've already addressed it. We were ahead of the game and we wrote letters objecting. And I think the next choice as a municipality together, we need to go to the province and say, how are you going to handle this?
Handle this, that's right. Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. Perhaps this is a question for the Director of Operations, but is there a concern now that once that designated truck route puts all the traffic through Kakabeka, will some trucks use a shortcut, if you like, and use Oliver Road to avoid going all the way into town up the expressway? Are we gonna have to watch that traffic?
Through the chair, it's, we'll see where it falls in place here, but yes. And when I talk about enforcement, I don't know what that looks like.
No.
We allow people traversing to go through our municipality if they're making a delivery. It's been like that forever.
That's
There are
right.
yellow and green signs that say 28,000 kg at Twin City Crossroads and Oliver Road. I do occasionally find escorted wide loads that I tend to chase down and give tongue lashing to, but there is no venue for me to enforce or deny access.
Mhm.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I just wanted to add to it, the big trucks are a concern taking alternate routes, but there's also the potential, real potential for just increased traffic, period.
Mhm.
People
Mhm.
not wanting to travel the highway, so taking Roslyn or Hearthstone or Oliver or
Okay.
one of the other roads. So just an increase in flow, period, because of the rerouting.
Yeah, because it's will be difficult to get in and off the highway.
Well, Kakabeka right now with the work that's being done,
Oh.
it'll be backed up sometimes all the way to the MTO while there's trucks trying to turn.
Mhm.
So people going to work every day are gonna say, I'm taking this way, back roads, because it's
Mhm.
much faster and that just increases the flow. So
I sympathize with those trying to cross the highway, that's for sure. I don't know what we can do for that, but
I was asked and I said, I can tell you right now that if the truck traffic increases that much, when I go down Highway 1117 to go to town, I will not turn left. at at the expressway. I will go straight through and use one of the other city roads, because you'll be involved in a row of trucks trying to turn. They can only maybe get through 3, and then they're going uphill all the way with 2 more lights. The traffic is gonna be terrible. Yes, Chris?
Through the chair, even prior to the
Hmm.
TR passed in principle, hasn't received ratification yet.
That's right.
But there has been numerous petitions, numerous lobbying, numerous conversations with MTO in regards to safety and around the village. This just amplifies it. And we've always been told, no.
No, yes, they told us no, their attitude has been, we'll see.
Mhm.
That's when we see them, we say, we'll see.
Just wanted to add, it wasn't too long ago where we had a report about a conversation that Chris and I had with MTO officials, and they said that the radar speed signs we have don't have any impact on driver behavior. And the other thing they said is that they did a turning movement study, and lights at Florence are not warranted.
No, so. Again, my thought is, it's for through traffic. Trucks going through to the east, they don't want that going down Dawson Road. How do you know? Are you gonna stop every truck and find out where he's coming from and where he's going to? That he isn't going down Dawson Road to make a delivery somewhere in North Thunder Bay? You don't know that. So I don't know how they're going to police it. So, but anyway, that's up to them to figure out.
Mhm.
Councillor Peacock?
I really think that we have to send a letter to MTO and ensure that the station is open more often in Shunya than it, I think it's closed more often than it's open.
This one's
So-
gone.
And the one on-
It's gone.
And the one on Dawson Road or 102, it doesn't work either, so.
But they don't
So-
need it, there's no
No,
truck.
there's no trucks. So perhaps they should put one at Siston's Corners, and that would solve a lot of things.
Anyway, it has been a decision that has tentatively been made by the city. Okay, we have new business, but I haven't really heard a lot from our administration, so just going to ask, is there anything new that you would have bring back today? No? John? No? Chris? Carrie? Oh. Yeah, no, nothing. Oh, I guess we're all happy. Councillor Viss. Councillor Viss, any new business?
Yeah, just one thing, when this truck route thing came about, and I was going through my mind, and because we're working on the Twinsy Cross to Arthur Street about lights, I'm wondering if this in 90 days becomes fact, should we be thinking of lights at Twinsy Cross on 1117? God, it's going to be an impossible to get across there. Just a thought, I thought all of a sudden that, you know, if you look at the truck limit, if that plays out, it's a truck a minute per year. And then traffic, how are you ever going to cross 1117, the new bypass, whatever you want to call it there, 1117 and Twinsy Cross Road? So you're going to remove all the traffic from where we're going to put lights, but we're going to create it up there where there's no lights. So just something to think about. I just might have wondered if we should be looking into that and say, okay, we'd like to have, but we certainly need another one there. I don't know.
I just want to add Vibert Road. There's two crossings that are gonna be Twin City and Vibert Road. They're both high accident locations
Yes.
because of it, and the increase in traffic is gonna amplify that, so
Mhm.
both of them.
That's true, that one too, yeah. Anyway, just a thought, and that's all I have.
Well, the rationale for that Thunder Bay Expressway addition there was to remove lights, so the trucks didn't have to stop at lights. So
Mhm.
it's unlikely that they're gonna put lights on that now.
Well, and yeah, and there are those that don't live out in this area or travel very often. They get confused with the Chappaqua bypass. They think it's already built.
Oh,
yeah.
It stops
Stops.
at Twin City Crossroad, or even before that, it's not 4 lane. So at the beginning is 4 lane, it goes to 2, and then it goes right back to 1117. So it isn't, the confusion there is saying, oh, well, they're going on the Chappaqua bypass. They're not, it's not completed. So it's unfortunate, but no, they won't put lights on the expressway. No, they won't. Okay, Councillor Calvert?
Yeah,
Anything?
the wrap up of the Friday and Saturday, the double MAA was unbelievably successful.
Good.
Yeah, the crowds are huge there, and the fields are in excellent condition too, well taken care of. They're very good. Joe, I talked to Joe and he was very happy with everything that happened.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
really
Big pat
good.
on the back for them. Counselor Kempoff, nothing. Counselor Peacock?
Thank you. I would like to ask that there be some signage of some kind on Oliver Road with regard to the trucks turning at Spence. Just for safety purposes, Spence is really narrow, and for regular traffic on landfill site days, it's busy enough. Now you're trying to maneuver around large trucks bringing debris from the, or fill from the OPG project. So as well, it's kind of a blind hill on Oliver Road as you're coming from the west to go into the landfill. So for safety purposes, could we possibly consider putting a sign up to indicate that there is trucks turning?
Okay.
Will we be getting a report on the status of the bridges and of the buildings? I believe those contracts were out earlier in the year, so.
That when they are forwarded to our administration, they will pass them on to us.
Because I did have a call, and I believe you did too, with regard to Hearthstone Bridge. Someone was inquiring
Yes, I
about
got a
that. so-
call from a person that said, I've been told that the bridge is being torn down. I said, well, I guess you're in a different meeting than I was.
I said the same thing.
So,
Yep, for sure.
Quit doing that.
And also just a note for if anyone's listening out there, the North Landfill site will be closed on the Canada Day but open on the Wednesday in lieu. I read that on our website, so that's
Okay.
good.
okay.
Right.
I've noticed that in a couple of spots, there have been additional signs mounted on our road signs, like our, indicating, for instance, Pole Line Road. There seem to be, just wondering how they ended up there, or is it okay that people put their personal signs on the, our road signs? Just a question.
Okay.
In March of 2024, we had a delegation here requesting a sign to be put on Arthur Street. I believe that sign was put up, but just I think it ended up on private property. I don't think they had
Oh,
to
I
come
think
back.
I
to
thought,
us. Yeah.
and it's on private
It's
property.
Okay, yep, all right. And just one further thing, congratulations to the mayor on being recipient of the King Charles III Coronation Medal.
That was a while ago. That was a while ago. Even forgot about it.
Is it? Did you wear it?
No, I have it on a jacket. So
Okay, thank you.
King, pretty excited to meet you.
I never met the king. I never met the king. But it was an honor that I got called and asked if I'd
Yeah,
come there.
very
So
nice.
thought that was very nice. Okay, anything else? I have no new business. Okay. We now have a resolution moved and seconded to resolve to close session, the time being 10:43 a.m. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We'll take a 5-minute break. And then. Meeting session. We have a resolution moved in second to reconvene the council meeting, the time being 12:31 PM. Oh, it said AM, but I gotta put a PM. Late meeting. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have the minutes of the closed session meeting held on June the 10th. This resolution has been moved and seconded to approve that meeting minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we have the reconfirming meeting resolution, which is moved and seconded to approve the minutes that we've just had. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And finally, I have a resolution to adjourn the meeting, which has been moved and seconded, the time being 12:31 PM. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.